were very much going to be, I predicted, a part of the election campaign or public debate as time progressed in this country. And despite the fact that some other radio jockeys coined the phrase Maorification, he's well behind the eight ball in terms of knowing what these discussions are about, because part of the discussion on race, ethnicity, the Treaty of Waitangi in this country, is who governs us, how it should be interpreted, and what that means to the rights of individuals in our society. And to work through those issues, we undoubtedly need to have private and public debates. We need to be able to talk with, disagree with one another and figure out what is going on. One person who's been trying to do that from a particular perspective, which you may or may not agree with, has been Julian Batchelor, who set up an organisation called Stop Co-Governance. And you know that we run their ads, they pay us money to say when they're talking around the country, they've been regular appearers, or Julian's been on the program regularly, because this intersects with another issue that the platform is very interested in, freedom of speech. The right in this country, which is constantly under threat from an authoritarian government, the right to speak your mind, even at the risk, even with the possibility of probability of offending some people. And Julian Batchelor has written a book which tens of thousands of people have bought for a marginal price or taken and read. And he has held, it must be into the dozens of meetings up and down this country to discuss co-governance. The Stop Co-Governance campaign, of course, has been targeted by the woke left, and in particular a group called Aotearoa Liberation or something movement from up north, who seem to be pretty well organised kind of online Antifa. But the other problem that Julian Batchelor and Stop Co-Governance have faced has been the cancel culture, the culture of fear that now exists in this country amongst our bureaucracy, many of our businesses, and indeed amongst government officials and elected officials. And I talked to Julian earlier this week, and he told me of an instance that I believe is worthy of exposure and discussion. So Julian Batchelor joins us on the line now. Julian, how are you, mate?
Hi, Sean. How are you?
I'm good. Now, take us back to, what was it, Balclutha on Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, well, we had a great meeting in Balclutha, and a good group turned up, and the next morning, what we're doing is we have a strategy of going into a town, stirring up all the locals, and then we form a big team of people who are going to deliver the booklets to everybody in the whole area. We're talking about like 20,000 booklets.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said, let's meet in a cafe downtown in Balclutha, so that's what we did, and we were having a lovely little meeting, and the mayor walked in.
Now, that mayor, is that Brian Cadigan?
Brian Cadigan, the mayor, walked in, and his face looked like thunder, and some of the locals said, "Oh, that's him. Look at him. He's looking pretty down and upset." Anyway, so I said, "Well, I'd like to go and say hello to him." So he went to the counter, and he was talking to the lady who owns the cafe, and doubtless he was ordering a coffee or something. So I said, "Hi, Brian. I'm Julian. And how are you?" And he pushed I put my hand out
to shake his hand, as you do.
Shake his hand, and he thrust his hand away.
Push your hand away.
He pushed my hand away, and he snarled like a Doberman pincer. And he said, "Get out of this town. We don't want you here."
What? Get out of this town?
Get out of this town. He was shouting. "Get out of this town. We don't want you here." And so everybody in the cafe looked around. He was loud. He was real loud. And the lady was at the counter, her jaw dropped, the one who was serving him. And so I said, "Oh, that's fine." And so we sat down, and then I went back to the team and talked about that. And they said, "Well, it's completely unacceptable for a mayor to be behaving like that."
Now, I want to ask you, what was your venue in Balclutha?
We had to go to, believe it or not, we had 2 venues cancelled in Balclutha, and we ended up in an industrial building with one of the locals, businessmen, who said, "This is so bad, that you've been cancelled out." We were cancelled out of a council building and one of the mayor's buildings, and we ended up having to move into an industrial
So
building.
you had booked with the council, but they'd said no. Why? On what grounds?
Oh, just because they don't want us in town.
See, I'm really concerned, Julian. Actually, up north I could understand. I thought down south you might have got a slightly warmer reception. But you are still essentially being cancelled and denied. And, this is the sort of thing that would cause national outrage a few years ago, but it seems to me that you're being thrown to the wolves.
Well, the Otago Daily Times is behind a lot of this, and in Dunedin, the same thing happened. We were cancelled, the Scout thing.
The Scout thing, yeah. And might I add, the Scouts haven't had the guts to front up on that issue to us despite repeated requests. Well, so now you've got the local mayor saying, get out. I mean, it's like some bad Western. Get out of town, you're not wanted here.
It was just like a movie, honestly. The mayor comes in, everybody goes quiet, their faces, the heads dip down.
See, I could hear the spears going clink, clink, clink across the saloon. Give me a double latte, barkeep. It's kind of bizarre, Julian. And now we've got a counterclaim against you that you're turning away, and they're private meetings. Because of security, you've now had to make them private meetings, admission only, right? Or admission at your discretion. And that is because...
That was police advice.
That's police advice, and that's because the activists were infiltrating your meeting and doing things that could lead to confrontation, right? Yep. But now the accusation comes, and I want to raise it with you and deal with it, that you're simply turning away people because of the colour of their skin. Is that true?
Oh, listen, this is just nonsense. They're desperately the media is desperately trying to twist this to make it a racial issue, and I'm a racist, they're saying, but we're not. In fact, we've had Maori in meetings, but we're turning away people just for their bad behaviour, not the colour of their skin whatsoever. In fact, we've got a Maori lady who's following us around, and I put her on our website, and she said, I came to the meeting, I was totally ignorant about the Treaty of Waitangi, and we should have all Maori going to these meetings. And so we've got.
So you deny any accusation that you are using ethnicity to deny people entry or invitation to your private meetings?
Correct. The only criteria is if they're an activist, no matter what the colour of their skin, they're not coming in the meeting because they wreck the meeting. In fact, they trash the rights of the people who come to hear me. So we're saying we're not going to have you in here because I'm going to protect the 200 people or whoever it is in the meeting. And their right to hear. Yeah. So you can stay out.
The Free Speech Union should be into the stuff about Brian Cadogan because this can't stand. This is like, the Molyneux, Southern Molyneux thing. This is cancel culture at its worst.
They should be. I don't know where Jonathan Ailing is right at the moment. I think he's got other fights that he's fighting. But he should be. And the whole country should be up in arms about this. We had... our meeting, remember that, we just talked about the Scouts and Dunedin. Yeah. Well, we had another businessman phoned me the next day and said, this is disgusting. I've got a hotel right on the wharf. You can have our hotel for your next meeting in Dunedin and, basically bugger them. Yeah. And I think free speech is a cornerstone of democracy and I'm going to open up my hotel to you. You can have it.
Yeah.
And so we're away. So we're getting private people to come to our aid, people who understand what democracy is all about.
Do you know what Brian Cadogan... I don't know much about the Byzantine world of Clutha District Council. Is Brian Cadogan a lefty or a righty? Where does he sit on the political spectrum?
I don't know where he is. I actually haven't spoken to him. But obviously he's woke and left and, he's whatever. But, we started a petition online to say Brian's got to apologise and we're putting out 20,000 booklets around his whole region, and on the invite on the book it says sign the petition to get the mayor to apologise. So this is going to go big.
So, look, okay, Julian, firstly, fat chance. He's a southern man, mate. They don't do stuff like that. And the second...
No, but it's okay. It's okay for us. We just want to highlight the issue. If he doesn't apologise, it's all right. Yeah. We want to get mileage.
But would you be satisfied if he came up and said, "Look, I was out of line. I'm sorry."
Of course, I love that.
And went on banning you from council venues.
Yeah, he should open up the council venues. We'll do the same as we did with Sport Northland. They apologise and then they open up the venue and we get it for free. That's what we'd like, a complete reversal.
Yeah. Well, Julian, where's next?
We're in Invercargill. We just had 2 venues cancel in Invercargill under pressure from the Otago Daily Times.
Now, okay, let's get into this. Hang on, Julian. You say under pressure from the Otago Daily Times. Describe what that pressure is and how you know it exists.
People from the Otago Daily Times, somebody in the Otago Daily Times put pressure on the venue owners who we had lined up for Invercargill and cancelled both of those meetings. Now, we have a guy called Jeff.
Well, hang on. How does the ODT put pressure on a venue?
I was just going to explain. We have a guy down here who's organising the whole bottom of the South Island for us, and we had a meeting last night at midnight in a hotel, and he explained to us that the Otago Daily Times had put pressure on these 2 meetings to have them cancel on us. And I haven't found out the whole detail of that, but that's what he said. I said, how did
that's what he said. Okay, so at the moment there's an allegation they have, but you can't tell me how they put pressure on or who it was at the ODT. I don't know the detail of that because it's only just happened, but I could let the platform know and tell you how it happened, but that's what he said. And he's been in communication with somebody inside the Otago Daily Times, and that's what he said. Yeah, well, and it also looks that Cadogan is a lefty. I'm getting texts through saying he was one of the very few mayors in the country to support 3 waters. So, yeah, it does sound like you're in hostile territory there.
He's only a little guy.
Yeah.
He's only a little guy. He looks angry. He looks angry. He looks very angry. He came in looking like
Are you saying he's got short man syndrome?
Oh, no, just keep going.
All right. Look, how would you... And look, we have you on regularly now because I'm constantly outraged, Julian. Whether or not I agree with what you say in your meetings, I just damn well believe you've got a right to have them without being harassed like this and without being cancelled. Do you think you're making progress in your view, with your views, and are you converting people?
Well, look, just take the facts. 350,000 little booklets have been sold. We're just about to put another 100,000. It's 500,000 booklets in 14 weeks. These are people buying them and giving them to people. And so the main thrust of this campaign is that little booklet because it's a trigger. And when people read it, their eyes are opened and they become people who suddenly see what's happening in New Zealand and they're mobilised. So the main thing is the meetings are not the main thing. The meetings are just catalysts to start a whole group of people who go and deliver books all around the country into rural letterboxes and urban letterboxes, and the database is growing and hugely. And so the number of books is a good indication. It's a barometer of how we're going.
Yeah. All right, Julian, and you're saying to Brian Cadogan and any other mayor who tries to run you out of town on a rail that you ain't going?
We ain't going.
Julian, we did invite Brian Cadogan on today to debate and talk with you this. He showed all the courage of a yellow belly and didn't turn up. I thank you very much indeed for your time today.
Thanks, Sean. Good one.
Cheers. Bye. Julian Batchelor, spokesperson for Stop Co Governance.